Bukola, you've shifted from your usual position behind the camera to have a chat with me today. You know, I was watching a TV program the other day, and it made me think about the royal family, or in fact, royal families, and the kinds of sacrifices that many members in royal families across the world have to make. I began to wonder about sacrificial duty, especially after I read this particular phrase: never mind your happiness, do your duty. It's quite a heavy statement, isn't it?
It is a heavy statement.
Do you think it is right to sacrifice happiness for duty?
I don't think it's a question of right or wrong. I think it comes down to choice. But you also have to put that into context in terms of the kind of family you've grown up in, the culture that you've imbibed. Mm-hmm. You are expected to look after your parents. You're expected to do certain things as an African or a Nigerian child. It is not about whether you like it or not. You have to do it, right? But I think there comes a time in your life where you then have to start looking at yourself. You then have to start making choices for yourself, regardless of duty or not. It's difficult, especially again if you're coming from this environment,
yes.
Because we have grown up being told, you know, you're the child, they're the mother or the father, and there are certain things that are expected of you as the child.
Mm-hmm. You have said something about your generation beginning to think, or actually thinking that
more about themselves.
Yes, that now it's time to think about yourself. Well, is it selfish for you to have that thought? And if it is selfish for your generation to think like that, does that mean that people in my generation were selfless?
So again, we're using labels here which are completely relative. Selfish, selfless, it's relative because it doesn't fit what you prescribe as being right or the right thing to do or the right way to behave, so you think it's selfish. Whereas in our generation or the ones before us, we're thinking, look, man, my mama, my father, they've lived their lives, right? I'm the one living in this 21st century. I'm the one that knows what's happening around town. I'm the one that knows that if I don't do X, Y, Z and move X, Y, Z at the time that I move, I might miss out on certain things. I'm going to leave my parents' home. I'm going to live on my own. I'm going to maybe travel the world or whatever it is. So it's relative. These labels are relative. And I'm not trying to advocate that, you know, the younger ones should completely forget duty or forget obligation to their families or their parents or whatever it is and totally focus on just themselves and what they want. At the end of the day, it's because of our parents and what they did and the things that they sacrificed that we are here today. That we can stand up and say, I can make my own decisions. I can do whatever I want because they paved the way for that to happen.
Let me put it to you in a slightly different way.
Okay.
Look at a situation like this. A mother and father, they're doctors, okay? For instance, they run a successful hospital. They have children, and it is their supposition that at least one of their children will read medicine and come into the family business. Let us even say that one of those children agrees. Clever, reads medicine, becomes a doctor. At the point where he or she is supposed to join the family business and work in the hospital, he suddenly says, or she suddenly says, Dad, Mom, look, I'm sorry, but this is not really what I want to do. I want to have my own restaurant. What would you say about a situation like that?
You know, this idea of this concept of having certain status titles attached to you, you know, of course, it's nice to be a doctor. It's nice when somebody calls you doctor, but what if it's not really what you want? What if it's not really who you are? And I say that parents have brought up their children with an entitlement attitude.
Who's entitled? The parents?
The parents.
Okay.
I gave birth to you. I own you. I own your decisions. I tell you what to do. I tell you how to do it. And if I'm the one paying your school fees, and if you don't do the things that I want you to do, you know, it's manipulation. Okay, you gave birth to me. Fantastic. But you don't own me and the decisions that will make my life, because I'm still an entity on my own. I'm still an individual of my own. And so I cannot live out your dreams because that's what you want, that's what you wish.
Okay.
Do you understand what I mean?
I do understand.
So I would ask, how did you map out your dreams? Or maybe it was just that they didn't think that they had any other choice but to follow in their parents' footsteps. Maybe they grew up hearing, you know, you two are going to become a doctor. I'm raising you up to take over my hospital, you know, this, that, and the other. And then their own personal dreams, the things that they wanted to do. I love food and I want to cook. Those things were pushed aside.
So at the end of the day, if that child now, for the sake of duty, sacrifices that dream of having that restaurant, owning that restaurant, and decides that they're going to join their parents to run this hospital, somewhere along the line, I suppose that child, or well, it's an adult now, is going to be highly resentful of their parents because they have done something, but it didn't come from their heart.
They may or may not feel resentful. They may decide or find out that this is a passion, that they have a passion for the job. They may come to the point where they realize that, you know, saving lives is just as important as feeding people.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's a possibility.
So
yes.
They may not, but what does happen, and I've heard enough stories, what does happen in time is that when they continue to dull down their dreams for their parents' dreams, when they continue to live their parents' lives, that is when resentment sets in. And so even the thing that you're doing that is putting food on your table is not giving you joy.
Ultimately then, what's our conclusion? That you should not sacrifice happiness for duty?
I wouldn't say that. Because again, like I said, situate it within the context that you come from, the family that you come from, the values, because I think it does come down to values.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, and you make a choice. And if you make that choice, then you stick with the consequences.
Thank you very much, Bukola. I've enjoyed our chat.
Thank you.